Tiger219 here. Today's video is going to be about my depression and anxiety, and it's kind of gonna be a hard video to talk about because I don't really talk about my depression often. It's something I've kind of kept to myself for a long time, and I guess I'm ready to share it. My anxiety and depression started when I was younger. I was about 12, and I used to get bullied when I was in grammar school about my height and my weight and stuff like that. I was the smallest kid in my class. So I would get picked on a lot. I would also get left out of a lot of things. Um which I developed anxiety. I always constantly worried about what people thought of me. Whether or not people liked me, whether or not people hated me, and it would drive me nuts. And you know, I would have anxiety towards conflict. I never liked conflict. I don't like getting into arguments with people. You know, I'd rather be that kill 'em with kindness. I'm not gonna argue with you. I'm not gonna raise my voice. I'm not gonna scream and yell at you. I don't like that type of conflict. I've never been good with conflict. So I kind of noticed that I was sadder than everybody else. I never really liked myself. I had low self esteem. I mean, I absolutely hated myself. Getting a girlfriend was hard. And when I did get compliments, yeah, you're just saying that to be nice, type of thing. I would brush it off. I never believed anything anybody said. I always believed the negative versus the positive. Um, when I graduated eighth grade, throughout my eighth grade, I was bullied even more. My depression was even worse. I had actually thought about committing suicide. That's the first time I actually started thinking about suicide. Um, I just didn't want to be here no more. I mean, I hated myself so bad that I look in the mirror and go, why are you even here? You're irrelevant. You're nothing. You don't matter. Nobody cares about you. Nobody will miss you if you're gone. Why was I even born? So my freshman year in high school, I thought maybe things would be different. Maybe I was stuck in a phase. Maybe this would go away. Well, it didn't. I got bullied in high school. My depression got worse. Um, I tried to be a people pleaser, which meant I got used a lot because I was willing to help anybody. I mean, I was the type of person I would do anything for anybody, even at my own expense, whether or not it hurt me or not. I just wanted to help people. I just wanted to be liked. So, um, I felt lonely a lot. Everybody would, in our school, there was cliques. I mean, you had the cheerleaders, you had the jocks, you had this, that, the skaters, this. I didn't fit into any of them things. I was just me. So, I felt alone. Um, I went to homecoming by myself. Everybody else would be there as couples. I'd be by myself. I went to one homecoming and never went again because I was lonely. Nobody wanted to dance. And it's just, I hated it because it reminded me of how alone I felt. I was surrounded by 100 people and I still felt alone. I mean, I met up with a couple of friends, but a lot of the times it's just, I felt they didn't understand. the stuff that was going on in my head, the self hate. I mean, and I try to reinvent myself several times. You know, I started dressing and to reflect my mood. I mean, I started dressing goth because I felt that's it reflected best reflected my mood. You know, and I still hated myself. I mean, it just wasn't something that seemed to ever go away. So it got to the point that I started self harming. I started cutting. I hid it from my parents. My parents, I would constantly wear long sleeves. It could be 80 degrees outside. I'm wearing long sleeves. And a couple of times my mom would question me, and it's like, um, the person's house I'm going to, their air conditioner, it's chilly in her house. I'd get away with them type of excuses. So um, my sophomore year, my friend Ellie, she saw that I had cut my wrist. I didn't know she seen the scars on my wrist. My shirt had, I guess, the way it moved, it went up, and she saw the cuts on my arms. So I had been self harming a while. Um, she went and told a counselor, and um, the I got called into the counselor's office, and the counselor asked to see my wrist. So I showed the counselor my wrist. I had no choice, and they contacted my mom. That's how my parents actually found out about my self harming, was actually through my school. They contacted. My mom had no clue at all, and the counselor had asked me why I was doing it, and I had pretty much told the counselor I do it because it's the only pain I can control. Because at that time, that was the only pain I could control. I felt my life was spiraling out of control. My grades were suffering. I just I just was walking through life like I'm here, like I existed. If I woke up, if a car hit me one day, I wouldn't get out of its way. I'd let it hit me. I mean, I just did not care about anything anymore. I didn't. I was always waiting for that shoe to drop. So, you know, I my mom took me home, and I had promised my mom I would never do it again. I'm okay. It was just a phase. It'll go away. Um, but it didn't, because shortly after that, I was still plotting my death. I had my junior year. I was going through a rough patch. I had a couple friends, close friends, pass away, and it was hard. It was hard going to so many funerals in so short period of time. And my thought process with that was they should have lived, and it should have been me in the casket, not them, because I'm the one that didn't want to be here. They still did, and it was hard. It was really, really, really hard. So I was getting more and more suicidal. I wasn't talking to anybody about my feelings, because I didn't want to be that burden. I still feel that way today. I don't want to be a burden on anybody. I don't like, you know, my thought process. Everybody has got their own problems. Who the fuck cares about mine? So I I I had to use the bathroom. We had a substitute teacher, and the substitute teacher told me no, you can't use the bathroom. Well, that day my rabbit had passed away, so it was already tough enough on me. You know, I just lost my rabbit. You know what I mean? I know a lot of people think, oh, it's just an animal. No, that was my baby. That was my comfort. I told that rabbit talked to my rabbit and told my rabbit everything. Um, so yeah, I had a breakdown. I mean, I literally started crying. I was just, you know, I just had a complete meltdown, breakdown, and I mean, it was embarrassing. Don't get me wrong. I look back at it and I was embarrassed, but I just couldn't control it. It's just all that emotion, all that anger, all that hurt, all that it just came out. So they sent me to the office and I got sent home. I was at the time on some antidepressants and I decided to, lo and behold, swallow a bottle of and try to overdose on them. Um, it just made me sleep, honestly. I slept for a couple of days. My mom didn't bother me. My mom thought I was sick, so I kind of got away with that. That was my first suicide attempt. When I woke up and I'm like, why the hell am I here still here? Why didn't this work? Um, I ended up dropping out of high school, because it was just emotionally too much for me. My It started kind of affect my anxiety and depression. Kind of started to affect my relationship with my parents. I just didn't care. I wound up getting a job at a cell phone store. I was working constantly. I threw myself into work because when I was at home, I had time to think. And when I had time to think, my mind went to dark places. So in my spare time while I was at work, we had a computer and I started going online. Um, and I met this one girl. Her name was Jessica, and we just started talking. And we kind of clicked. She lived in another state at the time. She lived in North Carolina. I was living in Illinois at the time, Chicago. So we started talking for a while, and eventually, she asked me, "Hey, why don't you kind of come move out here with me?" So on a whim, I packed all my stuff up and I moved to Wilkesboro, North Carolina. Took a Greyhound bus, went to Wilkesboro, and left my life behind in Illinois. Well, it turned out she wasn't the type of person I thought she was. Our relationship was good for a while. I mean, until she started acting strange, and I wrote it off as just she wasn't feeling good. So I ended up getting a job. I was working at Tyson's Chicken, the worst job I ever had. Working in a freezer that's kept below zero. I hated it. Well, the one day she came home, I came home, and I caught her in bed with one of my friends, who I thought was a friend, and I trusted them. So I ended up throwing her out. Now, in the part of our relationship, she wanted to get a car, and she needed a co-signer, so I co-signed for the car for her, and needless to say, the car, she stopped paying payments on the car, and the car went back. It ruined my credit. She had trashed my credit, and she had cheated on me, and I kind of threw him and her out. Uh, I went down a downward spiral after that. I started self harming again, and I had tried to commit suicide. I had at the pop out there was called Cheerwine, so I took a bunch of big bottle of Tylenol and I dumped the Tylenol in with the Cheerwine and decided I was gonna drink that con. That was how I was. That was it. I was done. I was gonna OD. Um, um, I got sick. One of my friends found out what I had done, and I got rushed to the hospital, and they sent me. They kept me for 72 hours, and then they sent me to a treatment center. Treatment center was there, was okay. I mean, it wasn't horrible. I mean, but I was the treatment center that I was at was with people who had drug problems, alcohol problems. So trying to talk to any of them, again, somebody not understanding what I'm going through. I I just didn't want to live. I just hated myself. My life was a mess, and I had lived in Fort North Carolina for 4 years, and I decided I wanted to go home. My sisters, my one sister had my niece, Tierney. I decided I was going to go home with my go home with my family. Um, Things with my parents weren't always good. I mean, we had a very rocky relationship. My sisters were able to get away with whatever they wanted. I couldn't. So I wasn't able to do things my sisters were able to do. My sisters kind of got to do whatever they wanted. And sometimes I kind of felt like it's because, well, my mom got remarried. My mom divorced my biological father. So I kind of felt because maybe it's because of the way my mind was twisting things. Maybe it's because they just don't like me. Maybe my parents really don't want me. I'm a fuck up. So I would kind of stay out late, not come home. Um, I just ended up being homeless because I had gotten into a fight with my parents and I had moved in with one of my friends. Well, that lasted very shortly. I had this. My depression was bad. Um, this girl that I was absolutely in love with, we started seeing each other, and she was battling depression too. She was the one person that kind of understood me, and we got along very well. I mean, we treated each other very well, and sadly, she had I had gotten one out and was doing some things, and I had gotten a call. She had ended her life. I was devastated beyond words. So again, I decided I was going to find every pill I could find, and I was going to end my life to join her. Because I didn't want to be here without her. She was the one thing that I had that was good in my life. Um, so again, I had tried to attempt suicide. I, because of my suicide attempt, I was evicted out of the place I was living, and I was sent to a mental hospital, which was not fun. It was absolutely dreadful. I was with people who would talk to themselves. I mean, not that I have anything against people who have mental illness. There are people who really had bad mental illness, and I wanted to get out of there so bad. So I was one of these people. I would tell them whatever whatever they want to hear. I'm okay. I'm not suicidal no more. I did not deal with my issues at all. So I I left. Eventually, I was released. I moved in with another friend. Um, and it was a crowded place. I mean, she had a lot of brothers, so I mean, it was the place was crowded. I was staying in the basement. Um, I hadn't dealt with the loss of my significant other, and because me and her were talking about getting married, spending the rest of our lives together, and it hurt. So I eventually spiraled down. My depression was bad. My anxiety was bad. I didn't want to be around a lot of people. I didn't. I just wanted to be by myself. Um, I was always angry all the time. I didn't take it out on other people, but I was angry. I just couldn't understand why. Why am I still here? Why is it? It seems like I felt like that. Everything that I touched turned to dust. So I blame myself. It was my fault. Maybe I did something to make her go away. Maybe it was my fault somehow, some way. I didn't do something. I didn't see the signs. I messed up. And um so I blame myself for it a lot. Um I I was just going through a rough patch. I ended up making some coffee one day and I dropped my favorite mug on the floor. And within that, I started cutting my wrist with the broken pieces of the cup. It was like being out of my body watching myself do it too. That was the funny part. It was like being an out of body experience. I was sitting there watching myself do this. I had no control. I wanted to die. And that's what I was screaming. Just let me die already. I just don't want to be here. And because I did. And there are some days I still don't want to be here. There's some days where I have to fight because my mind goes to dark places. And some days I question. I don't know why. So I I I got sent to a hospital and then I got sent to another mental hospital. And they taught me some skills, some coping, how to cope with things, stress, triggers. I I got let out and I eventually ended up moving in back with my parents for a little bit. Um, I ended up finding my own place where I live now. And every day is still a battle for me. I mean, it's hard. I mean, I've got a better support group. I have the Sunflower family, which is a godsend, and they're on Instagram, and they're the greatest. Some of the Sunflowers are the greatest people. I had to start watching a YouTuber by the name of Cadence. with her, I watched her story, and for the first time, I felt like I wasn't alone. Because sometimes you don't get how lonely it is, because it's hard to explain some days how you are feeling. What is wrong? Why am I sad for no apparent reason? And there are days I still wake up and go, why am I still here? I don't want to be alive today. And I have to fight each and every day. I am not proud of my suicides. I mean, I don't. I've tried to commit suicide 15 different times with various different ways, and the fact that I'm still here, there's got to be a reason. And I felt in my life that I wanted to help people, because I don't want people to feel alone like I do. And I don't want people to think that nobody cares, because I do. Because I know how it feels sometimes when you think people don't care. And I know how it feels to feel absolutely utter alone and you can't control anything. And I mean, the anxiety sucks. The depression sucks. And I have stopped cutting, which is a good thing. I don't self harm anymore. Because I don't want to have to explain that to my nieces. And that they're another reason why I'm still here is because of my nieces. Because I love them. I love them to death. And I promised a couple of people that you know, that I'd reach out to them if I felt horrible. And having a great support system, it matters. Trust me. You know, the Sunflower, Anna Cadence, she saved my life because I've met a lot of great people because of her, in the Sunflower family, and a lot of them don't realize how much they've saved me and how much they inspire me to want to help other people. There's always an option. Suicide is never a good thing. It's not to be romanticized, because once you're dead, you're dead. There is no coming back. There is no reset button. And if you're ever feeling lonely or depressed, you can find me on Instagram at 219 tigers underscore the small underscore sunflower small underscore two. I'll leave it in the link. But there's people out there that do care. You could reach out to any sunflower and they'll help you. Hell, you could reach out to Anna even. She's an amazing, wonderful person, and she's got a heart of gold. And I love her, and she does have a channel. I'll try to leave the link in the description also. Um, so I want everybody to stay safe, stay lucid, and remember, you're not alone, and everyone is beautiful, and love is louder. Thank you.